Hello, welcome to my channel specializing in charcoal drawing. I'm Mohammed El Khadi from Egypt, and I'm excited to be your guide on this artistic journey. Here, you'll learn all the basics and advanced techniques to help you improve your charcoal drawing skills. Whether you're a beginner or a professional, you'll find inspiring content and useful tutorials. Subscribe to the channel and join our artistic community to share experiences and tips. Let's embark on this creative journey together. In a distant world where humans and mythical creatures coexist, two opposing forces have emerged, the Kingdom of Light and the Shadow Empire. A fragile balance existed between them, with each side striving for domination over the world, each with its own justifications and goals. In a small village nestled between dark mountains, there lived a young man named Shirou. On the surface, he was an ordinary person, tending to his farm and living a peaceful life. But little did he know that his life was about to change forever. He had a strange power since childhood, powers he didn't fully understand. He could control shadows, although he couldn't do much with it, aside from making objects sway in the dark, yet something about these powers indicated that he was no ordinary person. One day, while Shirou was returning to his village after gathering herbs, a sudden attack occurred. Mysterious men clad in black armor and wielding blood-stained swords launched a violent assault on the village. A fierce battle ensued, but Shirou was powerless to defend himself or his village. Amid the chaos, an elderly man appeared, wearing a unique armor adorned with strange symbols, telling him, "You are the true heir of the Shadow Empire, and we are here to protect you." After all the attackers were slain, the old man took Shirou to a safe place where he revealed the great secrets he had been hiding. Shirou was not an ordinary person. He was the lost heir of the Shadow Empire, the dark force that once sought to dominate the world. His father, the former Emperor of Shadows, had been killed by revolutionaries, and the Shadow Empire had fallen without a leader. Yet, those dark powers did not vanish and needed a leader to rise again. At first, Shirou refused to accept this dark destiny. He didn't want to be part of a world filled with darkness. He believed that shadows meant evil. But over time, he began to realize that not all shadow powers were evil and that he must learn to control them to maintain balance between light and darkness. During his journey, Shirou started to gather allies. He met Kana, a girl with the ability to heal wounds and broken spirits, and Rio, an old warrior seeking revenge against the Kingdom of Light. They shared a common goal: to find a way to combine the powers of light and shadow without plunging the world into chaos. The battle between the armies of light and shadow raged on, with each side determined to rule the world. But during the conflict, Shirou discovered an even darker force at play, an ancient power manipulating everything behind the scenes, a force that sought to destroy both light and darkness. As the wars intensified, Shirou delved deeper into his past and his connection to the shadow powers. He began to see that the path before him was not just a battle between light and shadow, but an internal struggle between who he was and who he could become. Could he control the shadows without falling into darkness himself? Or would he find a third way, filled with sacrifice? The fate of the world rested in his hands, and every decision he made would lead to a new destiny. While the wars between the Kingdom of Light and the Shadow Empire raged across the world, Shirou began to uncover that there were hidden strings pulling the strings of the conflict. This was not just a battle between good and evil. There were ancient powers at play behind the scenes. The deep shadows, an ancient force that had been dormant deep within the earth, began to stir once more, capable of destroying anything in its path. Shirou began to feel the influence of this power. Every time he used his abilities, the shadows became stronger and quicker to respond, as if they had a will of their own. New enemies began to appear, incredibly powerful, who manipulated the shadows in ways Shirou had never seen before. There was a mysterious figure called Shadowmaster, who had the ability to turn shadows into terrifying creatures. His goal was to harness this power to control the world, but what Shirou didn't know was that Shadowmaster was actually a part of his dark past. One dark night, as Shirou and his friends moved through the shadowy forest, they were ambushed by Shadowmaster's army of shadows. The enemy was incredibly powerful, and the battle raged on relentlessly. During the fight, Shirou used his power to control the shadows around him, but the shadows grew fiercer, as if they wanted to destroy him. At a pivotal moment, Shirou revealed the secret of his family. His father had not only been the Emperor of Shadows, but also the guardian of the deep power, a force that could only be used by those with blood tainted by darkness. As the battle reached its climax, Shirou realized that Shadowmaster was attempting to release this deep power to destroy the world. But Shirou, who had started to comprehend the situation, understood that he needed to stop fighting against these dark forces and take control of them. At a certain point, he would have to make a difficult choice: to strike down Shadowmaster and save the world, or to face himself and accept his fate as the ruler of shadows, trying to find a new balance between light and darkness. As time passed, his friends began to change as well. Kana, who had initially rejected everything related to darkness, started to feel that she could no longer be part of a world that only embraced the light. Ryo, the warrior seeking revenge, found himself confronting his own inner battles and realized that he couldn't live in a cycle of hatred forever. They all faced internal struggles, but they came to understand together that balance between light and shadow was not an easy choice. It was a long journey filled with sacrifices, and in the end, Shirou reached a crucial point. As he stood at the heart of a final, decisive battle against Shadowmaster, he discovered an unexpected power. True light was not the force everyone thought it was. This light stemmed from accepting both darkness and light, the ability to use the shadow's power to protect the world rather than destroy it. In a dramatic moment, Shirou decides to confront Shadowmaster and uses the deep power within him to save the world. And when he does, something unexpected happens. All the armies disintegrate in an instant, and the shadows begin to transform into light. Shirou realizes that he does not need to be the Emperor of Shadows or Light. He is the guardian who will protect the balance between them. As the shadows and light merged into a brilliant, harmonious glow, Shirou stood at the center of the battlefield, feeling the weight of the decision he had just made. The armies of light and darkness had vanished, leaving nothing but the ethereal light that now bathed the land. The world, once torn apart by the constant clash of these forces, now seemed at peace. But Shirou knew that this peace was fragile and that his journey was far from over. Shirou turned to his companions, Kana and Ryo, who had stood by his side through it all. Kana, once so averse to the darkness, now understood the need for balance. Ryo, who had sought revenge for so long, had come to realize that vengeance was not the answer. They had all changed, evolved with the trials they faced, and together, they had learned the greatest lesson of all: that light and darkness were two sides of the same coin, and only through embracing both could they achieve true harmony. With the destruction of the Shadowmaster and the release of the deep power, the world began to heal. The lands that had been scarred by endless war now began to blossom, as nature slowly returned to its former glory. But Shirou knew that his powers would always be a part of him, and as long as he lived, he would have to guard against those who sought to tip the balance once more. He had no desire for power, but he had a duty to protect the world and ensure that the shadows would never again be used to dominate. As time passed, Shirou took on the role of a protector, a guardian of the balance between light and shadow. He traveled the world, helping those in need, guiding those who were lost, and teaching the next generation the importance of balance and understanding. Kana and Ryo, too, found their paths, but they often reunited with Shirou to continue their shared mission of keeping the peace. One day, while sitting under the shade of an ancient tree, Shirou reflected on everything that had happened: the struggles, the battles, the sacrifices. He had learned that peace wasn't just the absence of conflict, but the ability to accept both the light and the darkness within oneself. And with that knowledge, he knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he would always be ready to face them. As the sun began to set, casting a warm, golden light across the horizon, Shirou smiled softly, knowing that he had found his place in the world, not as an emperor or a ruler, but as a guardian of balance. And with that, he felt at peace, knowing that the world would always be in need of someone to protect the delicate equilibrium between light and shadow. And so, Shirou's journey continued, not as a warrior fighting for control, but as a protector ensuring that the balance of the world would never tip too far into either darkness or light. The story of the Shadow Guardian, as it came to be known, would be told for generations to come, a tale of sacrifice, growth, and the power of understanding the forces within us all. This is the conclusion of Shirou's journey, where he finds peace and purpose, guarding the delicate balance between light and darkness. If you're enjoying the drawings, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be the first to see new artwork. Feel free to leave your comments and likes, as your support means a lot to me and helps me to create more creativity. Thank you for all your support and encouragement.